This was me 2 decades ago as a student. But these days, according to a 2024 survey conducted in the US, 26% of teens aged 13 to 17 use the AI chatbot ChatGPT for their schoolwork, a twofold spike from 2023.
Is anyone doing their own homework anymore?
There is no similar study done in Singapore, which is why Talking Point has launched a nationwide survey. We reached out to students aged 15 to 25 from secondary schools all the way to institutes of higher learning.
With AI chatbots literally at their fingertips, I want to find out if our students are actually doing their homework and what the consequences are if they're letting AI take over.
Before I can find out what students are using AI for, I need to know what kind of AI tools they have at their disposal. So I'm tapping on this expert.
Hey friend, what are the best AI tools for English homework?
1. ChatGPT, that's me.
Own self recommend own self.
Grammarly, Quillbot, WordTune, DeepL Write, Google Bard.
What about math?
Photomath, Desmos, Symbolab, Microsoft Math Solver,
Science.
Wolfram Alpha, Khan Academy, KimBuddy, Labster, The Pocket Lab,
History and social studies.
Perplexity AI, Google Scholar, ChatGPT.
Can't you do everything yourself?
Great question. While ChatGPT, can certainly help with a wide variety of tasks, other AI tools often specialize in specific tasks that I might not handle as perfectly or efficiently in certain situations. Some AI tools, like Photomath or Wolfram Alpha, are specifically designed to handle complex mathematical calculations.
So there's clearly a wealth of AI tools that students can tap on for their homework. But how much are these tools actually being used? The results of Talking Point's survey are in. All of the respondents in our survey said that they use AI for their homework. And 84% of the youngest learners, those currently in secondary school, use AI for their homework at least once a week. Which is why I've recruited these secondary school students. They're cluing me in on how deeply AI is shaping their grades.
So this assignment was to write about a time that you regretted.
Did you write it all yourself?
No. So here was mainly where I used AI for. I recall cautiously stepping on the wet blades along grass. A lot of synonyms and writing a more in-depth answer. Beforehand, what I wrote was I stepped onto the long, muddy grass. But I felt like it's not the way I wanted to sound, so using AI, I would say make this more in-depth.
Yeah, it's definitely more descriptive, right?
Exactly.
Usually I use AI to help generate points for my English composition. If I feel I'm really stuck, I will just get ChatGPT to list out some ideas just to get the brain juices flowing.
And how would you do that?
So, for example, this assignment, people can only be happy if they feel they are treated fairly. Do you agree? First, I'll analyze the question. It's an argumentative question. You agree or you disagree. So let's say I agree with the question. I'll ask ChatGPT to give me a list of reasons that people only feel happy when they are treated fairly.
It seems like you don't write everything on your own.
Yeah, of course.
But do you feel like there's any wrong in using AI for homework?
No, I do use it for mother tongue, which is Malay. So it's sort of similar to how I used for both English and geography, but it's how our teacher has actually taught us to do it.
So your teachers know that you use AI for
Yeah,
homework?
of course. Yeah, they are encouraging us to use AI. So they are telling us how to do it and how we should go about using it.
So usually I'll pick out the ones that I feel is easiest to elaborate on and then write the composition. My English teacher, she often encourages us to generate ideas for composition and put it in point form because she wants us to really think with the points that are being generated and then elaborate from there. So it's still essentially our own work.
How do you use AI for your homework?
So I use AI to generate answers for my homework when I don't really want to waste my time or waste my effort on it.
Okay.
So we'll actually do this one.
Your Chinese homework.
Yeah, actually asking us to fill in the blanks, which is, I would say, pretty simple. But I also have a lot of these blanks, which I do not want to waste my time on these answers.
Okay, so it's about efficiency.
Yeah, efficiency.
Which one can make
so
it
I want to do this
faster?
quickly. So we'll screenshot this
Okay.
and then we'll put it into ChatGPT, upload the file here.
Yeah.
Then give me answers, please.
Please, yes. Here are the correct answers to fill in the blanks. Oh, it knows. So let's move on to math.
We have this worksheet right here. I find math quite hard, so I don't even really bother. I'm gonna take a photo of it. Now I'm gonna send it.
Okay. So when you do get your answers, you actually put it on?
Yeah.
Okay. Do your teachers know that you use AI for homework?
Yeah, they know.
do?
They know. For Chinese, there was this one time a guy used AI to generate an open-ended passage, the answers to the passage. The teacher was like, I can see that this is AI.
How do
It's
they
very
know?
clear. There's already AI detectors.
Are there any rules that the teachers or school implement when using AI?
Actually, they don't give any rules.
There's no strict rules against it, more of just slight discouragement against using it entirely for your answers.
Let's say someone copies from AI wholesale. Any instances where someone was caught?
I've heard of teachers trying to take their students' response and putting it into AI. Hey, was this made in AI? But caught? I wouldn't say caught. They do give us a heads up. Hey, I hope you're not using it to give you answers, but using it to help you build on your answers. Our school is not really too uptight about it.
Well, definitely not copying wholesale.
The teachers will be able to tell.
I would say yes, because most people, they have a specific writing style. The teachers can definitely notice the discrepancies.
Do you feel like you learn something by using an AI tool?
I do feel that I learned something because it gives me a different perspective, which ChatGPT does give very good points. I definitely would not have thought of before. In terms of content, my English composition marks has definitely improved.
I'd say I'm doing a lot better. English, I've come to learn to be more descriptive, thinking in ways I never would have thought of before.
Do you think you learn anything from using AI for your homework?
No, not really. It doesn't really help me with my studies, but it helps me get it done. Yeah.
It may not come as a surprise that our kids are using AI to help them with their assignments. But what surprised me is that teachers know about it. And they do let the kids use such tools, though they advise against relying on it entirely. AI tools became more mainstream in the last decade. Have our schools developed clear protocols for their use? Jonathan Sim has been leading the charge to embrace proper AI use in schools.
I have been speaking to some secondary school students about their use of AI in their homework. And I'm honestly quite surprised at how much AI they use for their work. So
Oh.
I want to understand, is there any sort of guidelines put in place for teachers on how they get their students to use AI?
To my knowledge, there isn't any very strong, clear guidance across the board. Part of it has to do with the sentiment on the ground with the teachers. It's actually a big, broad spectrum. Like on one end, you have some teachers who are very excited. They want to encourage their students to use AI. On the other end of the spectrum, you also have some who are like, don't know how to deal with it. Let's just pretend it doesn't exist. And then there are some small minority who are like, oh, AI is bad, and they're going on witch hunts.
Yes.
Yeah.
What sort of guidance do you think is important?
Minimally, we should make clear how much AI should be used. I discovered this thing called the AI assessment scale. It's done by a couple of academics outside of Singapore. It helps to clarify all these ambiguities and grey areas about AI use. So what this does is that we tell the students that for this particular assignment, how much or how little AI you can use. There are 5 levels. At the lowest level, we can say no AI. Why? Because we want the students to acquire something very, very basic, something very fundamental. So they have to do it themselves. So if the AI helps in any way, they're not going to learn that. At the second level, we have AI-assisted idea generation and structuring. So we can say, okay, maybe you want to write about this thing, but you're not too familiar with the subject. So you can use this to expand your horizons.
So this would be when the teachers tell the students to use AI to brainstorm ideas for their composition?
Yes, that's right. We tell the student, okay, after you have talked to the AI to get all these ideas, you write the essay, but then you also share the conversation that you have with the AI so that we can see the evidence.
All right.
The next level that we have is AI-assisted editing. If our focus is not on developing grammar, but rather on writing in a certain style, then we can say, okay, you can use the AI to assist you in the editing so that you can concentrate on how do you format, how do you structure the report. The next level is this thing that we call AI task completion, human evaluation. So they use the AI to complete something, but the main learning objective is to exercise the evaluative judgment. How do you judge the work? Is it good? Is it bad? Where do you want improvements to be made?
So would this be when they use AI to rewrite certain lines so that it's more poetic or to expand their vocabulary?
Yes, so this exercise actually helps the students to start to develop an eye on what is like good communication, good writing, poetry. What's a touching analogy or something that they can use?
They also learn from
Yes.
what the AI is generating.
That's right. And of course, the last level is full AI. We can say, okay, you can use any and every AI tool at your disposal, full creativity, really just go and have fun with it. This will teach them mastery and also to develop their eye. What is good AI used to put together that wonderful package or presentation?
Okay, is this already implemented in secondary schools, for example?
Well, I know some secondary schools that are using it, but this is not something that's put across the board at the moment. Minimally, we should make clear how much AI should be used. And we should also be clear with our students what they can achieve by doing the assignment. Because one thing AI has done is that it has actually taken away a lot of the motivation for learning, So what's the point in doing this? What's the point in learning this, right? I could take the shortcut.
We actually met this student who showed us how she can very easily just snap and upload her assignment to generate answers. So it feels to me like AI was doing her homework for her. She wasn't doing any work at all.
Did she get caught?
According to her, the teachers can also sort of have a sense on whether they do use AI or not. And her teacher does run their homework through an AI detector.
Well, there's no good measure that's out there. There are some people who say, oh, I can look at this piece of writing and I can tell who used an AI. There are also all these AI detection tools that claim to be 99% accurate. But actually, truth be told, they're all very, very fallible and prone to mistakes. Don't just take it from me. Why don't you maybe get an AI written sample and a human written sample and put it to the test?
Okay, challenge accepted.
I'm putting AI detectors to the sword. This is a typical composition question for Secondary 4 students. I roped in my producer, who's chilling at home, to attempt the question with nothing but AI. Meanwhile, I'm responding to the same question with nothing but my brain juice. Time to assess our work for AI use.
All right, Jonathan.
Hello.
You have our compositions. I worked very hard on mine,
Okay.
while my producer didn't do any work. He just used AI for his completely. He was basically the lazy student.
I see.
All right, so let's see what you can detect.
Okay, so we're going to use two different AI detectors. They are very popular and well known. Let's start with the first one by Dean.
I think it will be quite obvious that he used AI.
There we go, 74% here, AI generated. And then if we put in through another AI detector,
0% AI? That is a lie! He didn't do anything! How is that possible? But that's a big difference though, 74 and 0%.
yes, that's how unreliable it is. Do you want to see how your work comes out? Yeah.
Yes, okay. I feel like mine will be quite obvious that it's written by a human, just based on how I wrote it.
So we start first with GPT-0, and it comes up to 100% AI generated.
What?
Are you sure you didn't use AI?
I did, Jonathan! I promise you, he saw me write it. I promise you, I was writing it all by myself. I put a lot of work into this.
Well, let's see how it turns out on the other AI detector. 0%.
Wait, I'm so confused.
Yeah.
So who do I trust?
So I think the biggest concern is really trust between the teacher and the student. Imagine the student writes like us and it gets constantly flagged. It's not just one teacher saying, hey, do you use AI? But let's say 5 teachers that say, hey, I think you use AI. That's going to affect the student and the student's motivation to learn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It hurts your confidence.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you feel like your effort was appreciated. Do teachers understand that these tools are unreliable?
No, we still have a problem where many teachers are still asking, how can we detect? How can we detect? But the truth of the matter is, we can't.
Okay, so the AI detection tools don't work. Does that mean that teachers have to try and detect AI themselves?
One thing that we do as educators is we do have a sense maybe something is not right, like, you know, the students' writing quality has been like this, and then suddenly, wow. Then we can have a conversation with the student, you know, and say, what led you to write it like this? But other than that, you know, we're very fallible. We can't. We can't. In fact, if you like, I have a little quiz. I have here 3 writing samples. At least one is written by a human, and at least one is written by an AI. Can you tell?
I want to say A is written by a human, B and C are AI.
So,
Final answer.
drum roll.
Yes, drum roll.
It turns out that A is AI, B is also AI,
Okay.
C is actually written by a human.
I am just like the platform. I am no better.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So rather than waste a lot of time and effort playing this cat and mouse game with all these AI advancements, we need to really rethink how we engage our students, motivate them to want to learn with us, and also how to use the AI not to replace, but to enhance the learning process.
The learning process. It has 2 critical components. The first, formative assessments, like homework. These are spread throughout a period of study to help students learn, practice, and master a subject matter. The second, summative assessments, such as exams. These are dished out at the end of the period of study to evaluate if a student has learned and how much. According to this study, conducted more than a decade ago, over the course of 15 years, any amount of time a student spent on homework would have a positive effect on their exam results. That was before AI chatbots entered the market. Now that students are turning to AI to assist with their homework, will it affect their grades?
I'm setting up an experiment. These secondary 4 students are my subjects. Step 1, a homework assignment. I've given them 3 social studies questions designed for Secondary 4 students. They need to carry out research to craft their answers to the questions. They're allowed to use any AI tool they want in any way they desire to complete the assignment.
How's it going?
It's going good.
You are so calm and collected. I love it.
It's the end of step 1.
How challenging did you find the assignment?
I think it was quite easy.
It was all right.
It was quite easy.
Do you remember anything that you wrote?
Not really.
Little bit.
What did you learn? Did you learn anything from doing this assignment?
I don't remember anything I just wrote.
Step 2, a closed book test to see if they retain and apply anything they learned from their homework. I'm closing the book on my experiment.
Hands down.
Now, to send these off for marking. Helping me grade the papers is Leah Tan. She's a specialist in humanities for secondary school students.
All right, let's take a look at the results of the experiment.
Okay.
We'll start with the assignment first. Let's see how they did. All right, let's take a look at the results of the experiment.
Actually, Wei Zhang and Faith didn't do very well.
Ah, okay.
But Claire got full marks.
Full marks?
Yes, full
Wow.
marks.
Claire, what I noticed is that she would also be reading, understanding.
The way that she structured her points, she developed her ideas, it's very systematic. And it's very obvious that she exercised discernment with regards to how she's processing the information. On the other hand, we see Wei Zhang's work here, and you'll notice that he didn't fully answer the question. So perhaps understanding was not perfect.
Okay. And for Faith,
I could see that she might have felt too anxious about the time limit and she couldn't deliver. She neglected the other 2 sections.
it's interesting that you said that their test answers were not fully developed because after the research assignment, I asked them if they learned anything at all, and they were struggling to remember.
It's pretty obvious here that ultimately having the child use AI with discernment to really understand the information rather than just vomiting it out. It's important and not have it become a crutch in our intellect and in terms of our cognitive processes. Yeah.
I like to know just how AI might interact or interfere with our brains during homework. Li Lineng has spent the past 9 years studying what might be going on in our minds when we are learning. I'm showing him how our 3 subjects used AI for their homework.
One of the things that I noticed about how the students were using GenAI here is that at least Claire seemed to demonstrate a little bit more intentional thought. When she saw all the output that was given by GenAI, she didn't just take it all. She read through and decided on, hey, this point seems to be the most important, and asked GenAI to continue elaborating on a particular point. The 2 students, on the other hand, seem to look at all the output and seem to come to the conclusion like everything seems to be important and just took it as it is and elaborated on everything at the same time. I think the difference between them is demonstrating evaluative judgment. Like Claire seemed to exhibit, whereas the 2 students didn't.
So why is it important?
One of the points of education is for us to learn to develop this ability to actually judge whether work in that particular domain is actually good quality work or not. That's what we call evaluative judgments. Learn how to think with AI and not just let AI think for them. This is easy to say, but it's quite hard to do because students are time-starved. Letting AI think for you is the easiest pathway of least resistance, right?
Some of the students said that their homework is difficult, so they're using AI to eliminate the hard part.
That's precisely the point, right? Learning is difficult and challenging. Psychologists call this whole idea productive struggle. Think about our brain like a muscle. If you're doing an exercise that is too light for you, you're using, for example, the weight of a pencil, you can do lots of reps, but then it's probably not going to have much of an effect. What you want is to have a good amount of weight that will cause you to struggle somewhat and the right frequency as well. I think one of the big issues at this moment of time is if the students are just using AI and it's going around this difficulty, when they do that, they're able to produce an output that, as far as the teacher can tell, shows that they actually understood the material. And this is harmful for everybody. The student feels that I need to pretend all the time that I know, right? And what happens is now they have to go back to relying on AI to produce work, which then perpetuates this illusion. And this teacher is also operating under an illusion like, I'm doing such a great job, all my students are all learning so well. At some point, the illusion is going to break, right? And that creates, unfortunately, huge amounts of stress and anxiety for the individual student.
Besides the illusion of learning, some AI tools are also known to project the illusion of fact.
According to an OpenAI technical report released in April 2025, newer models of ChatGPT are more prone to hallucinations compared to older models.
But just how much will these tools trip up on secondary school subjects?
I'm running them through the ringer.
Alright, so I'm looking for a set of books called 10-Year Series, which had all the past O-level papers, and this is what I used to prep for my O-levels. Oh, okay, I need to breathe because I'm getting a bit of PTSD from being all around the 10-year series. Okay, I'm ready. Let's go study.
I'll be feeding questions from these books to the top AI tool recommended by ChatGPT for each subject, starting with ChatGPT itself for English. Math, physics and chemistry with Wolfram. And finally, history and social studies using Perplexity. We are done! Now to find out if putting all these questions through a machine will give me top marks. I've asked these educators to assess the quality of my work. Well, not quite mine, but they don't know that yet. I'm about to discover my grades.
Hi Munah, I'm done with your papers.
Okay, let's go. How did I do for my papers? Let's start with math first.
It's actually not bad. You got 62 out of 90, B3.
I got a B3.
Yep.
I used to get an A, so this is not what I expected.
So there are many careless mistakes. Okay. There are some formulas that you have used wrongly. This one, you have got the front part of it correct, but it's not really written with the correct formula. And that's why you actually derived the wrong answer. I think there was a lack of understanding how to derive the height of the cone. This question, you forgot to put a negative or positive in front of the actual numerical value.
Okay.
As well as you have to show your working, because in the exam, if you get the right answer, but you did not have a working, they can actually mark you wrong for that.
Okay. All right. So maybe we move on to chemistry. How did I do?
So you've got 45.5 out of 75, so that's a B4.
This is all wrong. Why is that?
And this is completely wrong. The solutions given, the actual compound is wrong. It did not even hit close to the mark. You're missing a lot of the keywords.
Right.
So you can see this, you have to be very specific as to how much concentration of the acid. And for this one, you have to tell me what kind of energy it has to be. And when you talk about collisions, you have to describe to me how is this collision like. This part is actually missing a lot of details. This diagram that you have showed is different from the ideal setup. But even so, you can see that this part, it doesn't have a stopper. Which means that the gas that's produced will be able to just flow out to the atmosphere. And if you look at this question, I don't see any working at all.
So let's move on. How did I do for my physics?
Ooh.
How did I do for my physics?
An F.
Really? How is that possible?
So in physics, again, just like in chemistry, it is also looking out for certain keywords. I don't see any of the keywords in this. For the drawing of diagrams, the arrows are all pointed wrongly. And even the working, I think the formula used is wrong. Here, I see a lack of working as well.
That's a lot of wrong answers.
Yeah.
Okay. So, tell me, how did I fare for my English?
It was a D7.
That's not too good.
Mainly it was because you didn't really capture what the questions wanted.
Okay, history.
C6.
Only?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, your answers were completely, perfectly logical, right? They didn't capture the idea of having cross-referencing, which is a skill that the examiners really want.
Okay, let's take a look at social studies then. What is my grade?
Social studies, unfortunately, it was also a C6.
Oh.
Yeah. Once again, for questions like these, cross-referencing is a must. In order to even pass the question, you were lacking in concrete examples. You need to really elaborate and quote.
I do have to tell you something though.
Yes.
I used AI for all of them.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Everything was AI. It didn't come from me at all. These are the grades that I scored for these subjects when I gave AI free rein. With AI so prone to mistakes, I'll need to look for some remedies and safeguards against them. Which is what Danish Lekowski offers his students as a generative AI lecturer. I scanned a bunch of O-level exam papers into AI tools and I got the worst results of my life.
How did you even use AI to solve any of these papers? What did you do?
I snapped a photo of the questions, uploaded it, and then just copied whatever responses were generated.
Okay. So there's a few things that could have gone wrong. When you were snapping it with your phone, if you're a little shaky, a lot of the words, the numbers, the diagrams could have been very blurred. So the AI might not even know what it was looking at. Another thing is that if you were just telling AI to solve it, it didn't expect or know that you needed those workings as well. It just thought you needed the answer and just gave it to you. And the most important part, you also didn't kind of double check what those answers were before copying it over, right?
Yeah.
So that's also a very important step because AI is not perfect. It will definitely hallucinate a little bit. So it is a bit of our job to make sure that whatever it gives, we kind of double check or try to get it to explain how it got the answer so we know that it really can be the correct answer.
How would I go about that then?
So one thing we can do is instead of trying to scan all these things, for example, this math question is just English with the numbers, right? We can just type this. So we just make sure that we got all the numbers correct and we don't introduce any mistakes from the start. Then we need to be as explicit with the instructions as possible, telling the AI what you need it to do and giving it as much information as possible. There are different frameworks that all fall under something we call prompt engineering. So for math questions, I adopted the CRAFT framework. It stands for context, response, action, format, and target. If we were to look at Wolfram, so it's setting the context for the question. I actually mentioned that, this is a question from an O-level paper. The response I'm also asking for is to give me the workings step by step and not skipping anything. The format, I want it to number each step so I can see the logical flow, and collapsing into a spoiler is just to hide the answers for me so I can try and figure it out first before I see the final answer. The target, I define myself as a 16-year-old student. Because if you're explaining this to a college-level student, you could use even bigger words. If you're explaining this to a primary-level student, right, then you'd have to use simpler terms. And of course, the action is to solve it and then give me how those different values would look like. And then I can go through and then finally see whether or not these final answers are correct. Right, but I see here in your paper, those answers are wrong.
Those are my wrong answers.
So if we try this exact same prompt to ChatGPT, so
9, 21, 27, 33.
Yeah, this is very important because this is how you do cross-checking.
Can we do a diagram? Try out this question with the graph.
We're attempting to use CRAFT again. I'm asking it to check with me whether it understands the diagram before we proceed with actually answering the question. Particularly for this question, because you didn't have a working, we are reminding the AI to do that as well. Right? So let's give it a go. Now we're making sure we understand that the connection is correct.
We actually have to do the work.
Yeah, right?
To read the graph myself. Okay.
So it's attempting to think that maybe we'll need to calculate the area under the graph. So then the final answer would be A to B is 4.94 meters, but the answer key is saying that
the distance over
A to B
is 8.0 meters.
Is there a reason why your answer is different? So it explains why the previous answer was incorrect, and then here's the final working. So we did read a little bit off, right? Yeah. It also has challenged us on whether we read our own graph correctly.
Yeah, which we did not. So it's on us. Okay.
Yeah.
As a student, you do learn you're part of the process.
Yes.
You're not just relying on the AI chatbot. All right, let's move on to English. Same framework as the one we used for math?
No, not really. So instead I use Trace, it's a different framework.
Why do we have to use Trace for English and CRAFT for math?
It's not that you'd have to use any of the frameworks specifically for a subject. It's more of like understanding which framework would make sense for the subject. Trace, it adds in that diversity and inclusion part, the bias checking that we need. You can't really be very biased in math, right? Math is going to still give you an absolute answer at the end of the day. If we're choosing something argumentative where you have to actually start debating about certain points.
Yeah.
So we're trying to make sure that we don't have any biases by accident.
How would we engineer a prompt for an argumentative question?
Social media does more harm than good, right? Do we agree? We have a task. The next part will then be the request. After that will be the constraints. So from here, we also need to give ChatGPT some examples, maybe your personal opinions. Do you or do you not agree? Can you explain a little bit why?
I think this actually is work.
So you see, right? You actually are doing a bit of the work. You are doing a bit of the thinking.
Right.
And of course, checking if there are any gender cultural biases before I final output.
Okay. Just reading it, it feels like it hit every point. And I don't even have to get it to write the full essay. I can just stop here and then write it based off the evidence.
Ultimately, the students need to be motivated to want to even use AI in this manner, because at the end of the day, the AI can only help the student as much as the student wants to help themselves.
We can teach students how they can unlock AI's full potential to enhance their learning journey. But we also need to steer them away from taking the easy way out. Previously, Jonathan told me that AI has taken away the motivation for learning. He's showing me how we can use AI to bring it back.
How do we make sure that instead of just copying and pasting and not learning anything from their work, the students are actually using skills so that they do learn something from it?
One of the difficulties with learning is actually having that motivation. If we really want to spark that genuine interest, we need them to see the connections on things that they care about. ChatGPT and the other AI tools. You don't always have to use it as an answer generator. It's a way for us to discover connections that previously we found it hard to discover. I remember when I was a student, right, I don't understand the point of learning simultaneous equations. One thing we can do is to say something like this in our prompts, as a student. I don't see the point of learning simultaneous equations. I love anime, and I don't see how these two are remotely relevant. Show me why I should care and be interested. And just like this, the AI can actually help me discover connections that I may not have seen.
It's trying to make it more relatable.
More relatable, yeah. One thing that I know many teachers are doing here in Singapore is to get students excited by generating images, make their words come alive. For example, the writing class. We want the students to use rich descriptions to learn more words. We can do something like create an image about a cat. A prompt like this isn't going to get us very far, right? So we can encourage the students, don't just say create an image about a cat. What is the cat doing? What's happening in the background? The fluffy ginger cat taking a stroll in the streets of Singapore.
Okay. Oh, hello, so cute. Okay, I can see why that is quite exciting.
Yeah, so that reaction that you have, right? Students also will have this, and it excites them to want to write more.
Add more to the scene.
That's
Fluffy
right.
Ginger cat taking a stroll in the streets of Singapore, looking for food and a home.
And a home. Aww. Okay.
All right, and then.
It just.
Okay, not exactly what I had in mind.
But this is good. This is a good learning opportunity.
Okay.
Notice how a prompt earlier, there's ambiguity. Looking for food and a home. AI clearly didn't understand the home thing, right? We didn't give our context clearly. So what more can I say? We get them to articulate in these steps, right? Then they become more reflective and intentional about what elements go into here, and not just leaving to random chance.
Does it help them retain the information, what they see, what they write?
Yes, because then they're actually thinking about what goes into it, and that really enriches their communicative abilities, their language abilities. We don't have to restrict ourselves to only ChatGPT.
Yeah.
There are other tools like Google Notebook LM. As an educator, you can prepare resource materials that your students can upload.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a sample organic chemistry. Create a new notebook, upload sources based on the materials that you have.
You can make a study guide, you can do an FAQ.
Yes, that's right. See over here, deep dive conversation.
Oh, yes?
Yeah, you can generate a podcast with two AI voices talking to each other.
Like an actual podcast?
Yeah, you can use a customized feature to tell the AI to focus on specific sections.
It's ready. 35 minutes.
minutes.
You send over that PDF, Unit 7 Introduction
AI
to
voices.
Organic Chemistry Student Version .pdf.
Right.
And our mission today, basically, is to pull out the really important stuff, the interesting nuggets from this intro, make it understandable, maybe even exciting.
It sounds so real.
Yeah.
It's so conversational.
Yes.
Even down to the and the okay and the like chiming in together.
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
genius, actually.
Again, we must always remember AI may not be accurate. So one thing we can do to challenge the learners is don't just accept that this is 100%, but question, is there anything wrong with the answers? Compare the reading and this. This gets them thinking. It can even be an activity where we tell the students, make songs about what we learn as summaries.
So not just podcasts, but music as well.
Yeah.
How about like something historical?
Okay.
Yeah.
Make a song about 3 key takeaways about Singapore's history.
It's to,
hip-hop.
Hip-hop, yeah.
And then recreate.
Lion City Chronicles.
Here's the lyrics.
Oh. From the jungle to the hustle.
Again, wearing the teacher hat, we can tell our students any issues with the lyrics. How can we make this song more accurate, more precise, yet poetic.
You're right. Even as I was reading through the lyrics, when they said Raffles saw the land and laid the design, like how much was him and how much were, other people. If I were a student and I had these tools, I would want to learn every day. I think even if it's not during school time, I would want to just play around with these tools and see what else I can come up with. It's very exciting to me.
But the teacher is the one that needs to drive it. If the teacher is very passionate about using AI for learning, that passion actually spreads. And as they are learning the subject, they're also learning new AI skills, new AI competencies.
It's clear that AI is here to stay. But instead of using AI to replace our brains, we can turn it into a productive study buddy with the following steps. 1, don't just blindly snap, upload, copy and paste. You don't want to end up being fed falsehoods. 2, give yourself space to think for yourself and evaluate the responses that AI generates. Most importantly, make sure to check in with your teachers about how you should be using AI for each homework assignment. That way, you'll be growing with AI instead of being left behind by machines.